Welcome to Tomorrow Unveiled. It is Monday, January 19th, 2026. And if you've been scanning the headlines over the last, say, 7 days, you might have felt a subtle but a seismic shift. We aren't talking about politics or the economy today. We are talking about the biological ground beneath our feet.
It has been a week that I think, historians of science might actually bookmark.
Yeah.
We are seeing a fundamental change in the narrative of human life itself.
I want to be careful here because for the longest time, whenever we talked about immortality or, radical life extension, it felt like we were discussing a screenplay.
Oh, absolutely.
You know the tropes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Billionaires freezing themselves in cryogenic bunkers or uploading their consciousness into the cloud. It was speculative.
It was fringe.
It was often a little bit silly.
It was very much in the realm of what if. But looking at the stack of research that dropped just this second week of January 2026, the conversation has changed.
Now so.
We aren't talking about what if anymore. We are talking about clinical reality. We are witnessing the transition from, speculative laboratory research to a robust multi-billion-dollar industry.
An industry that's doing what exactly?
It is actively treating aging as a manageable, engineerable condition.
That is the headline right there. Aging is shifting from a destiny to an engineering problem.
Precisely.
And today, our mission for everyone listening to Tomorrow Unveiled is to unpack the most critical discoveries of the last 7 days that prove it. The roadmap for this is actually fascinating because it takes us from the most natural environments to the most artificial ones. We're going to start in the jungles of Brazil. Our research team has been analyzing a group of so-called natural immortals who are defying, everything we thought we knew about genetics.
And from there, we are going to leave the planet entirely. We have new data regarding the International Space Station that suggests space travel might actually act as a time machine for ourselves.
A time machine.
Yeah, teaching us how to reverse aging when astronauts come back home.
And finally, we are going to talk about the software update for the human body. We have news about AI running drug labs and a new technique called partial cellular reprogramming that. It might just be the holy grail we've been waiting for.
It's a lot.
But I want to be clear, we're going to look at this critically. Is this real or is it just more hype?
It is a packed agenda, and the data is dense, so we are going to take our time with it.
Let's dive right in. Segment 1, the natural immortals. Now, we have all heard of blue zones, right?
Yes.
Okinawa, Sardinia, Loma Linda. These are the places where people famously live to be 100 because they, eat purple sweet potatoes, walk up steep hills, and have strong communities.
Right. And blue zones have been the gold standard for longevity research for 2 decades. But there is a massive limitation to the blue zone data that scientists have been quietly struggling with.
Which is what?
Those populations are usually very genetically homogeneous. Everyone in Okinawa shares a lot of the same ancestry. The same goes for Sardinia. It makes it really hard to figure out which genes are actually doing the heavy lifting because the gene pool is so shallow.
So you don't know if it's the environment or just a lucky isolated family tree.
You've got it. You can't separate the variables.
Enter Brazil.
Enter Brazil. This week, our team has been reviewing a landmark viewpoint, published. It's regarding a massive study out of the University of São Paulo. And the numbers, they're just staggering.
What are we talking about?
They have identified over 160 centenarians, people, over 120 validated supercentenarians.
Okay, let's just clarify for everyone because the terms get thrown around. A supercentenarian is someone 110 or older.
That's right.
That is rarefied air. That is like winning the lottery twice.
It is statistically incredibly rare.
Yeah.
But what makes this Brazilian cohort so important isn't just the age, it is the genetics.
Right.
Brazil is one of the most admixed populations on Earth. You have European, African, and indigenous ancestries all mixing together for centuries.
So instead of looking for a longevity needle in a haystack of identical hay, you're looking at a diverse genetic map. Why does that specific admixture, as you call it, why does that matter for the science?
It matters because it reveals the genetic treasure trove that we've been missing. Standard genetic databases are heavily biased toward European populations.
I've heard that.
By ignoring the mixed populations of South America, we were effectively trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Right.
By studying these Brazilian supercentenarians, the research team found rare genetic variants linked to immune strength and cellular maintenance that were completely unknown in other databases.
This brings us to this concept I was reading about, resilience.
Yes?
When I read through the briefing on these supercentenarians, I expected to see people who lived in bubbles, perfect organic diets, zero
That's
stress.
also yoga instructor.
Exactly. But that is not the reality of this cohort at all, is it?
Not even close. And this is the key insight that I want everyone to really grasp. These individuals aren't avoiding damage. They are resisting it.
What's the difference?
Well, many of these supercentenarians lived in underserved areas. They had limited access to modern healthcare for most of their lives. They survived serious infections, things like Zika, dengue, malaria.
Wow.
They navigated poverty and high-stress environments, yet biologically, they remained bulletproof. They are mentally sharp and physically functional well past 110.
Okay, I have to push back on this a little.
Please do.
We've spent the last decade being told that stress kills. Cortisol is the enemy. Inflammation is the root of all evil. Now you're telling me that the people living the longest are the ones who had the hardest lives? That sounds completely counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But this introduces the concept of immunological memory and robustness. In many European centenarians, we see a downregulation of inflammation. Their bodies just sort of chill out.
Okay.
But in this Brazilian group, the genetic analysis showed something different. They have variants that keep their immune surveillance high. Their bodies are constantly patrolling for threats.
But without the friendly fire.
Exactly. They do it without triggering the chronic, damaging inflammation that kills the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't have stress. It's that their cellular machinery deals with the stress, resolves it, and moves on.
So they have a better cleanup crew.
A much more efficient biological response system.
Yeah.
And there is a fascinating data point that came out of this research regarding the sort of tipping point of aging.
A tipping point.
The experts found that up to age 90, lifestyle is king. About 70% of your aging trajectory is determined by what you do. Your diet, your exercise, your habits.
Okay, so up to 90, it's on me. That's my responsibility.
Correct. But to get from 90 to 110 plus,
What happens then?
the ratio flips completely. Suddenly it becomes 70% genetics.
Mm.
You need the hardware to survive that long. The lifestyle gets you to the door, but the genes open it.
That is a relief and terrifying at the same time.
Yes.
It sort of implies that unless I have that specific Brazilian gene variant, I'm hitting a wall at 90.
Well, historically, yes. But that is why this research is so critical. If we can identify those genes, the ones that supercharge the immune system or repair DNA more efficiently in these natural immortals, we can try to develop therapies that target those same pathways in the rest of us.
So we don't have to rely on the genetic lottery.
If we can engineer the winning ticket, yes.
So the goal is to bottle that resilience.
The goal is to understand the mechanism of resilience so we can reproduce it.
Which is a perfect thematic transition, actually. Because if we want to talk about the mechanism of resilience, how the body reacts to extreme pressure, we have to talk about the most stressful environment humans have ever visited. Let's leave the jungles of Brazil and head to the International Space Station.
Space is the ultimate stress test. It is an accelerated aging machine.
I think most people know that astronauts lose muscle and bone mass. We've seen the videos of them being carried out of the capsules.
Right.
But this week, a study came out analyzing the Axiom 2 mission crew that showed something much deeper, much more molecular was happening.
Yes, this analysis, it looked at blood samples from the Axiom 2 crew. Now remember, this was a short mission, only about 10 days.
10 days, that's it.
That's it. But even in that short window, the biological changes were massive. We aren't just talking about muscle loss. We are talking about DNA methylation shifts.
Okay, let's pause there. DNA methylation. We hear this term a lot in longevity circles. Can you break that down? What is actually happening to the DNA?
Sure. Think of your DNA as the hardware, the instruction manual for your body.
Got it.
Methylation is the software. It's a system of little chemical tags methyl groups that attach to the DNA and tell it which chapters to read and which to ignore. It tells a gene to switch on or off.
And over time, as we age,
Those tags get messy. They get placed in the wrong spots. That pattern of messiness is what we call the epigenetic clock. It's a measure of your biological age, not your chronological one.
so in space, the clock speeds up.
It went haywire. The markers of aging spiked. The body perceived the microgravity and the radiation as a massive assault, and it responded by biologically aging.
Which raises a question.
What's that?
How does a tiny cell deep inside your liver know that you are in zero gravity?
Yeah, that's a fantastic point.
It's microscopic. It doesn't have ears or eyes.
The process is called mechanotransduction. It's incredible. Your cells have a scaffolding inside them called the cytoskeleton.
Okay.
In gravity, that scaffolding is held taut. In zero-G, it relaxes. When the cell relaxes, the nucleus, the brain of the cell where the DNA lives, literally changes shape.
It changes shape.
It becomes rounder. And when the nucleus changes shape, the DNA inside it coils differently. Genes that should be hidden get exposed, and genes that should be active get buried.
So the physical shape change triggers the chemical aging markers.
That is wild, isn't it? The physics of the room changes the shape of your DNA.
Mind blown.
Precisely. But here is the aha moment, and frankly, the most hopeful news of the week. They called it the epigenetic wobble.
The wobble. I like that.
When the astronauts came back to Earth, those markers didn't stay elevated.
They didn't.
They reversed.
So they aged rapidly in space and then got younger when they came home. Is that what you're saying?
In a biological sense, yes. Their biological age markers bounce back.
Yeah.
This demonstrates plasticity.
So aging isn't a cliff. It's a slider.
It is. It proves that biological age is not a cliff that you fall off. It's a slider that can move in both directions. The body reacted to the extreme stress by aging, but once the stress was removed and gravity returned, it recovered.
That is huge because it implies that aging isn't just damage accumulation like a car getting rusty.
Right.
It's a dynamic response.
It changes the paradigm completely. If aging is a response to stress and it is reversible, then the question becomes, how do we trigger that reversal here on Earth without going to space?
Right. I don't want to have to spend a week in a centrifuge or spend millions on a ticket to orbit just to feel younger.
And you don't have to. The significance of this study is that it gives us a model. If we can identify the specific molecular switches, the exact methylation patterns that allowed the astronauts to recover, we can develop therapies to flip those switches for people on Earth.
So you could help someone recover from what? An illness? An injury?
Think about someone recovering from a severe injury or a long bout of illness or just the accumulated stress of modern life. We are learning that the body knows how to repair itself. We just need to learn the language to tell it to do so.
So we have the natural resilience from the Brazilian cohort. That's the luck of the draw. And we have the proof of reversibility from the astronauts. That's induced resilience. It really feels like the pieces are coming together to form a picture where we can actually control this stuff.
They are. And it's moving from observation to intervention, which is the exciting part.
Which brings us to the practical side of things. Before we get into the crazy AI stuff and the gene editing, I want to talk about what is happening right now. But first, we have a quick request for you, the listener. We are diving deep into the future today, and if you are finding this insight into longevity valuable, we need your help to keep this mission going here on Tomorrow Unveiled. If you are watching on YouTube, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Tomorrow Unveiled. And hey, hit that new hype button if you want to help us break through the algorithm and reach more learners. Make sure your notifications are on so you never miss an update on the future.
And for our audio listeners on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we would be incredibly grateful if you could leave us a rating and a review for Tomorrow Unveiled. It truly helps us reach new listeners and grow this community.
We also want to hear from you. Here's a question to chew on. Would you take a pill that reverses your biological age if it meant you had to spend a week in a high-stress environment first, like a boot camp or, I don't know, a microgravity chamber?
That's a great question.
Let us know in the comments. We love reading your takes. Okay, let's get back to it. Segment 3, the toolkit. We've talked about the high-level science, but what are the doctors actually watching in 2026? What are the trends that are hitting the clinics now?
The landscape in 2026 is defined by a shift from general wellness, which is, kind of vague to specific, targeted interventions based on biomarkers.
Right.
The experts have identified 12 key trends, but 3 really stood out in the reports this week because they bridge that gap between science fiction and do it today.
The first one surprised me because I usually associate it with the dentist, not longevity, the oral microbiome.
It is surprising, but the data is just undeniable. The mouth is a window into your systemic health.
How so?
We used to think of gum disease as just a localized problem, bad breath, maybe you lose a tooth. But the new research correlates gum inflammation directly with white matter damage in the brain.
White matter damage, that's pre-dementia territory. How does a bacterium in my gum get to my brain?
It's terrifyingly efficient. The primary culprit is a bacteria called P. gingivalis. When you have inflamed gums, your mouth becomes permeable. These bacteria just slip right into the bloodstream.
Oh, wow.
They can travel to the heart, increasing cardiovascular risk, but they can also cross the blood-brain barrier. And once they're in the brain, they trigger an inflammatory response.
What kind of response?
The brain produces amyloid beta, The plaque associated with Alzheimer's actually as a defense mechanism to trap the bacteria.
Wait, are you serious? So the Alzheimer's plaque might be the brain trying to protect itself from mouth bacteria?
That is the leading theory right now.
Right.
Yes. So in 2026, longevity clinics aren't just looking at your blood panels. They're doing microbiome mapping of your mouth as a primary diagnostic tool.
So flossing is literally a longevity biohack now.
It's probably one of the highest leverage, lowest cost things you can do.
Yeah.
If you control the inflammation in the mouth, you lower the inflammatory load on the brain. It's that direct.
Okay, trend number 2. This one sounds like a sci-fi villain. Senolytics, the zombie cell hunters.
This is a huge area of focus. And yeah, zombie cell's a pretty good description.
Let's define it. What is a senescent cell?
As we age, some of our cells stop dividing because they're damaged. But instead of dying and being recycled, a process called apoptosis, which is what they should do, they enter the zombie state.
They just hang around.
They sit there in the tissue, refusing to die, and they spew out inflammatory chemicals called cytokines that damage the healthy cells around them.
They poison the neighborhood.
Exactly. And this week we saw significant movement on this front. The ACTG, a major clinical trials network, launched the IPACE HIV study. They are testing a combination of drugs, dasatinib and quercetin, specifically to treat frailty.
Why focus on HIV patients? Is that relevant to the general population?
It is highly relevant. People living with HIV, even when their viral load is treated and undetectable, often show signs of accelerated aging. Their immune systems are under constant low-grade stress.
Inflammation.
Precisely. They experience frailty earlier than the general population. So, they are the perfect model to test these drugs. If dasatinib and quercetin can clear out the zombie cells and improve physical function in this high-risk group.
It proves the concept for everyone else.
Exactly.
But are these safe? Dasatinib is a leukemia drug, isn't it? That seems pretty intense.
It is. And that is the catch. These are potent compounds. You don't take them every day like a vitamin. The protocol usually involves hit-and-run dosing.
Hit and run.
You take it for a couple of days to clear the zombies, and you stop to let the healthy cells recover. The goal isn't just to extend life, it's to fix frailty, to make people physically robust again.
I love that distinction. It's not about living to 150 in a hospital bed. It's about being able to hike a mountain at 90.
That is the entire goal of the field now, healthspan, not just lifespan. And that leads to the third trend, fasting as medicine.
Okay. I feel like everyone talks about time-restricted eating or TRE. Is this just another diet fad, or is the science actually settling on this?
In 2026, we have stopped viewing it as a diet.
Mm-hmm.
We view it as mitochondrial rejuvenation.
Explain that. What does that mean for my cells?
Well, it connects back to our circadian rhythms, what's called chronobiology. When you align your eating with your body's natural clock, and you give your body a long break from digestion, you activate specific repair pathways.
Like a cleanup crew for the body.
A very specific cleanup crew. Pathways like AMPK and SRT1. They go in and they fix the lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium. They even repair the blood-brain barrier we just talked about.
So fasting is basically a maintenance cycle for your engines.
It is. But, and this is a massive but, that the critique of earlier studies missed. It is not one size fits all. The new research emphasizes significant sex differences and age differences.
How so?
Well, for older adults, aggressive fasting can be dangerous. If you don't get enough protein within your eating window, you lose muscle. That's sarcopenia.
And losing muscle when you're older is bad news.
If you lose muscle at 80, you increase your risk of falls and fractures, which is a fast track to frailty. So you could be fasting to live longer, but actually making yourself too weak to enjoy it.
That's a terrible trade-off.
A terrible trade-off. And for women, particularly premenopausal women, aggressive fasting can disrupt hormonal cycles. So the 2026 approach is precision fasting. It's about balancing the repair benefits with nutritional support to maintain muscle mass.
So it's not just stop eating.
It's time your nutrition to optimize repair. It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
You want the cleanup crew, but you don't want to tear down the house.
Exactly.
All right, let's move to the final frontier, segment 4. This is where the big money and the big brains are converging. We're talking about AI and the concept of reprogramming the human body.
This is where the scale of the industry becomes apparent, right? Just this week, we saw a massive move. NVIDIA and Eli Lilly betting $1 billion on AI-powered drug discovery.
$1 billion. It's
What?
a staggering number.
I want to clarify something here. When we say AI, I think people picture ChatGPT writing a poem about proteins. But we are talking about agentic AI, right?
Correct. There is a huge difference between generative AI, which creates text or images.
And agentic AI.
Agentic means the AI has agency. It acts. It's not just analyzing data you feed it. It is virtually running the labs. It's modeling billions of protein interactions, hypothesizing which molecules might be geroprotective, protecting against aging, and then designing the experiments to test them.
So it's not just the analyst, it's the scientist.
It's doing in days what used to take human researchers years of trial and error. It's terrifyingly efficient.
And it pairs perfectly with the other concept gaining traction, the digital twin.
Yes. Fountain Life released data this week involving over 15 billion data points collected from their members.
15 with a B.
15 billion MRIs, blood transcriptomics, full genome sequencing, gut microbiome, oral microbiome, the whole picture. They're using this massive data set to create digital twins.
So a virtual model of me.
Exactly. Imagine it. So instead of testing a drug on a mouse or risking it on you directly, they test it on virtual you first.
Wow.
This is the shift from population health, where we guess what works for the average person, to precision medicine. Doctors can simulate how your specific body will respond to a longevity therapy. They can see if it reverses your heart plaque or improves your cognitive function before you ever swallow a pill.
And according to their data, it's working. They're seeing reversal of coronary plaque. They're seeing metabolic improvements.
They are validating the results with real-world data, which is what the field has been desperate for. It's moving out of theory.
But the biggest sci-fi turn reality moment this week has to be the news about partial cellular reprogramming. I saw that Clicatho Neurosciences is acquiring assets from Turn Biotechnologies. I heard this described as a software update for the body. What does that actually mean?
This is potentially the holy grail of 2026.
The Holy Grail, that's a big claim.
It is. But here's why. We have known for a while about Yamanaka factors. These are 4 specific proteins that can reset a cell's age. If you expose a cell to them, it goes all the way back to being a stem cell. It becomes a baby cell again.
Which sounds great until you realize that a pile of stem cells doesn't make a functioning heart or liver. If my heart turns into a pile of goo, I die.
Right. And worse, full reprogramming makes cells forget what they are. A skin cell forgets it's a skin cell. And if you do that in a living animal, you get teratomas aggressive tumors made of confused tissue. It's chaotic.
Okay, so that's the problem. What's the breakthrough with Turn Bio?
It's partial reprogramming. They use a technology called ERA, epigenetic reprogramming of aging. They deliver these Yamanaka factors, usually via mRNA wrapped in lipid nanoparticles.
Just like the COVID vaccines.
Exactly like the vaccines, but they only pulse them for a short time.
Just a quick burst.
Exactly. It cleans up the epigenome. It wipes away the messy methylation tags we talked about earlier, but it stops before the cell loses its identity.
I love the analogy I read. It's like restoring your computer's operating system to make it run fast again, but without deleting your files.
That is the perfect analogy. You keep the software, the memory, the function, the identity, but you strip away the glitches and the slowdowns that accumulated over time.
And this is moving to the clinic now.
It is. We are looking at the possibility of rejuvenating tissues, skin, muscle, maybe even brain tissue, without the risk of cancer that plagued all the earlier attempts.
It is just incredible to think about. We started our conversation today talking about resilient supercentenarians in Brazil, people who won the genetic lottery. Then we moved to astronauts reversing their aging in space, proving the body is plastic. We looked at the tools like fasting and senolytics we can use now. And we landed on AI robots and cellular reprogramming.
It is a lot to take in. It's a whole new world.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize all of this, where are we? What's the takeaway?
I think we are at a pivotal moment where we are redefining the goal of healthcare. We have the natural proof of resilience from Brazil. We have the plasticity proof from the space station. And now we have the tools, the AI, and the reprogramming to manipulate that plasticity.
We are moving from sick care to true health span extension.
Exactly. For decades, medicine was about waiting for something to break and then trying to fix it. Sick care. Now, with digital twins and early biomarkers, we are detecting risk years, sometimes decades, in advance.
So we aren't just treating symptoms anymore.
We are targeting the root causes of biological decline.
And for the listener tuning in to Tomorrow Unveiled, whether you are 25 and just starting to think about this, or you're 95 and looking for that extra decade, why should they care?
They should care, because the takeaway from this week is that biological aging is malleable. It is not a fixed destiny. It is becoming an engineering problem with engineering solutions.
So there's agency.
There is agency. Whether it's through lifestyle changes like fasting and oral health today, or gene therapies and reprogramming tomorrow, you have more control over your biological clock than any generation in history.
That is a powerful thought. And I want to leave everyone with one final provocation.
Okay.
We've talked about separating chronological age, the candles on the cake, from biological age, how your cells are actually doing.
Right.
If we are truly entering an era where biological age is a choice, where we can reset the clock, at what point do we stop counting birthdays and start counting updates?
I'm running version 4.0 of my liver.
Exactly. I'm going in for my version 5.0 immune system update next week. It changes everything about how we view the human experience.
It certainly does.
Thanks for joining us on Tomorrow Unveiled.
See you in the future.